Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, to Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, how we feeling, Chargers fans? It's been kind of a crazy week for the Bolt fam, hadn't it? It's been a long time since the Chargers can say, hey, man, we are locked in, good to go for the postseason. No worries. Nothing can push us out at this point. But this has started to beg the question, well, what now, right? The Chargers with 2 weeks to go. We're in. Nothing to worry about. What is the significance being carried by these last two matchups? Well, I'll tell you, not a lot of teams in the NFL are as fortunate as the Chargers in saying, you know what, we're in the postseason. Not too much to sweat about in these next two opponents, but you know what we can do? We can start fine-tuning this team to give them the best opportunity possible to hit the ground running in the postseason and not just be, you know, a one-and-done team in the playoffs. So we want to go as deep into the playoffs as possible. And this Chargers team, as dominant as they have been, I'll say defensively over these past few weeks, they still have some issues to sort out. So these next 2 weeks versus the Rams and the Broncos are going to provide solid opportunities to really take a look at these issues and tackle them right now. Yes, I'm looking at you, Joe Lombardi. This offense being the number one concern, these games are going to provide a nice opportunity for us to sort these things out. And hopefully the Chargers, including, you know, Justin Herbert and the rest of the unit, can find a rhythm to get some momentum going into the postseason. So it should be a pretty good one, guys. Before we do get started, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. We've already announced the winner of the Keenan Allen jersey. That is set and ready to go. Congratulations to our winner there. If you guys want to get in on the action on your daily fantasy app right here, use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. And this week, I want to know your guys' opinions, okay? What are you rolling in with Underdog this week? I'll be posting my picks before the Rams game, probably tomorrow, to give you guys an idea of what I'm going with. So with that, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action. The Chargers versus Rams battle for LA week 17 game preview. Week 17, guys. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to try out Underdog yet, please do. It's a lot of fun. Set yourself up. Let yourself learn a little something before the 2023 season rolls around. And, of course, you do have an opportunity to play during the playoffs. Let's start this week off like we do every week with the injury report. Who is in and who is out. Couple of names on here Chargers fans should be at least paying attention to. First one being Austin Eckler, who was a little bit limited this week. He was practicing in full. I would say if you're a Chargers fan at this point, maybe let's play him a bit lighter than we normally do, just to make sure he's preserved. If he has any issues whatsoever, keep him involved. Make sure he's part of that offense that he's such an integral piece for. But let's not risk him as much as we have to. The only thing I would say is, hey, fantasy football players aren't too excited to hear that coming from the director. You know what? I'm right there with you guys. We made it into the Super Bowl, as you guys remember in my live stream with my big fantasy league. I want to see Austin Eckler out there with all the touches and all the receptions, all the carries. In this instance, though, maybe a better idea to give him a few less snaps this week. Xander Horvath is questionable for this game, suffering an ankle injury last week. Limited, could be worse, but maybe another game where if he does see some touches, probably a few less than he normally does. The big name on this one, Derwin James, concussion protocol, has not practiced. Practicing limited in the later part of the week. He has also been listed as out. Officially out for this week. And this is something that I definitely agree with. If you're the Chargers and you got somebody as important as Derwin James in concussion protocol in a game that really doesn't move the needle too much in terms of your odds for the playoffs, maybe go ahead and sit him out. Let's roll him in a little bit soft next week and then make sure he's ready to go full force for the postseason. Outside of that, you got Sebastian Joseph Day, who's in full, and Trey Pipkins, who's in full. Should be a pretty average day for the Chargers in terms of personnel. Now with the Rams. Now, Rams fans, you're not going to see too much sympathy from me, albeit a bit of empathy, okay? I understand what it's like. This season from hell for the Chargers, especially in the middle part of the season, was brutal, okay? And the Rams are no strangers to this scenario as well. Here's what we got looking for the Rams. Brian Allen, decent center, out. Listed as out with a calf injury. We got Aaron Donald, the star defensive lineman for so many years now. He is out. I think they said they were going to pretty much shut him down for the season weeks ago. Maybe there's a chance he comes back for the next couple of weeks, but will be out this game. Exceptional pass rusher Leonard Floyd is questionable. Tyler Higbee, the reception monster last week, he is questionable, although he did not practice for rest this week too. I would say that he's got a better chance of suiting up than not. And then a pair of other players here for the Rams listed as out. Now, these aren't the players that are going to be the biggest headline for the Chargers missing out in the battle for LA, okay? I should say for the Rams. The Rams missing Aaron Donald is huge. They're also missing Cooper Kupp. They're missing Matt Stafford. It's been a pretty rough year for the Los Angeles Rams. And us Chargers fans, again, not much sympathy from us, but we get it. We understand where you're coming from. So that's what to expect in Sunday's matchup versus the Rams as far as personnel. So let's get into our first topic. The Chargers are going to the playoffs. Say it with me again, Bull fam. The Chargers are going to the postseason. Super exciting stuff, man. But what do the Chargers realistically have going for them in this one, where they want to, pull out all the stops, squish on the LA Rams a little bit? But there's a couple of different reasons why I think the Chargers are not going to lay down on this one, okay? For one, the Chargers are going to be fighting for a better seed at this point. I think currently they hold the 6th seed in the AFC, which is not bad, right? Nothing can knock us out. Maybe we can get knocked down a peg to the 7th seed, but at this point, the Chargers, there's nothing that can happen in the NFL for the next 2 weeks that's going to push us out. However, we can fight for a better spot. Right now, the Chargers, I think, currently matched up with the Cincinnati Bengals if they were to hold the 6th seed. That's a pretty decent matchup, right? The Bengals, good team. If we could play somebody a little bit easier, I definitely wouldn't complain, and there's a road to making that happen. If the Steelers take down the Baltimore Ravens this week, who currently hold the 5th seed, that opens the door for the Chargers to sneak in there and snag that 5th seed from right underneath them. And if that were to be the case, the Chargers, instead of playing the Bengals, would be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I understand the Jags smushed us this season. Bit of a different scenario and a different team we're looking at this point of the year, but I would highly prefer that matchup over the Cincinnati Bengals. So that's one thing to be fighting for. The other big thing to be fighting for, which I'm telling you guys, it's got to be happening behind the scenes. The Chargers and the Rams competing for the market in Los Angeles. As insignificant as a game this may look like on the surface in terms of the postseason, the Rams out, the Chargers already in. Why are we even playing this game? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the owners are certainly wanting to see a good performance from their teams in this game, because as fickle as the LA market can be, this team loves winners, okay? Certainly, if you're going to be going up against a competing Los Angeles market squad, you're going to want to come out there with the win. So as much as it may be unspoken, the unspoken law of the Los Angeles game that holds no merit for the postseason, et cetera, I can guarantee you there's somebody out there saying, hey, man, Dean is saying we got to go out there and win this one. And Dean's not just saying we got to win this game. He's saying we're going to have to squish this team this week to try and have favor in the Los Angeles market. So there's a couple of reasons right there. Then honestly, as a football team, the morals, the principles, you never want to go into the postseason with unnecessary losses. One of the biggest things I feel is underrated in the sport of football, pretty much in any sport, is momentum. Okay, momentum is king. If you can roll into the postseason with a couple of wins under your belt, feeling good, finding that rhythm, you're much better for it in the prime tournament of the postseason than if you were to lay down and take some losses that were unnecessary. Okay, so let's talk about the LA Rams a little bit. Was that 50 bomb we saw last week for real? Man, Broncos fans. We said this a couple of times this video. You're not going to find any sympathy from me, man. And you know what? In some instances, maybe we get it. We've had some really rough seasons in the past. It's been a while since it's been that bad. But it's got to be a real tough season to be a Denver Broncos fan, man. I'll tell you what, I got a couple of peers in my life right now. They're shutting the door. They're locking it. They're hibernating until 2023 when hopefully something happens. Maybe somebody goes out there, wildly trades for a Russell Wilson just to get that contract off the books and get that franchise back on its feet. Either way, things aren't looking good for the Denver Broncos. Does this mean, however, that the Los Angeles Rams, 50 bomb last week was real? Kind of. I would say that it's less real that the Rams are a 50-point scoring weekly team than it is that the Denver Broncos are just, honestly, frankly, that bad. The Broncos are just that bad. Now, I'm not going to say that, the Rams don't have the potential to put 50 on us. Of course, anything can happen any given Sunday. I would just say that the chances of that are pretty low. Okay, we still can't write off the Rams. Anything can happen. We've seen some chemistry, established between Baker Mayfield and Tyler Higbee. And Cam Akers is going in there. But at the same time, I feel like that 50-bomb version of the Rams is not something we're going to see on Sunday. It is something worth note, though. I think more of this segment is for, suck it, Broncos fans. This team dropped 50 on you last week, and we're looking to drop some nice points on them this week. Next segment's called the battering Rams, okay? Or rather, the battered Rams. Now, like we mentioned at the top of the video, this team is in a bad, bad way. No Donald, no Kupp, Stafford, among many other players, okay? This is that version of the Chargers that we were living in mid-season where it just seemed if there was a player to note on the roster, they were at some point going to get injured. Knock on wood. Even for the Rams, we don't like seeing nobody injured, right? We want to see the best of the best competing against the best of the best because in the end, football is entertainment. When you don't have your opponent at full strength, it is a bit unfortunate for the pure viewership of the sport, okay? And it's really caused an epic fall for the Rams since their 2022 Super Bowl form. And it's kind of one of the quickest turnarounds I've seen in a while since the Denver Broncos after losing Peyton Manning. We're just going to keep taking stabs at the Broncos all day. But still, again, we can't take this game lightly. This isn't the same team as last year, but neither are the Chargers, okay? This game this week, it could easily be labeled as a trap game by many, especially since there's not much consequence behind it all. But I feel like, again, there's a lot that you can do in this matchup to help yourself going forward. So what about their quarterback, Baker Mayfield, right? What do the Chargers need to do to shut down Baker? Well, I'll say that Baker, I actually feel good for the guy. I'm kind of rooting for him a little bit after the whole thing with the Cleveland Browns and then the Carolina Panthers and now with the Los Angeles Rams. I think this guy needs a win, right? Not this week, but the guy needs a win in his career, and I think landing with the Rams is one of the best things that could have happened for him. And I would say that he's off to a pretty strong start with the Rams, right? He's established, again, like we said, some chemistry. He's had a couple of really solid games outside that matchup with Green Bay. He's looking pretty good. His favorite target so far, Tyler Higbee, was listed as questionable. There's a really strong connection there between quarterback and tight end. What they put up, like 3 touchdowns last week? Absurd. But I do think the Chargers have pretty decent counters all over the roster for whatever they decide to do. That's the one thing about the Los Angeles Chargers right now. The offense, not much to write home about. Chargers fans a bit fatigued with what we're seeing from Joe Lombardi. However, the defense, the resurgence behind Brandon Staley, now that's been something to watch. And the Chargers have some pretty good counters to that. Sure, they don't have Derwin James this week to counter the tight end, but funny enough, I feel very confident that Alohi Gilman provides a very nice counter as well. Alohi Gilman, man, really has been stepping up. Lots of Chargers on defense have been stepping up. And whatever the Rams decide to do, I think the Chargers have a pretty decent counter for it. Yeah, Drew Tranquil and Kenneth Murray definitely been stepping up versus the run, even though that's probably still our biggest weakness. You got the defensive backs have been playing out of their minds. And then, the Chargers got a pair of really nice pass rushers, including Joey Bosa coming back this week, which we'll talk about here in just a second. His other targets, Bryce Hopkins, or I think is it Bryson Hopkins, Van Jefferson, Tutu Atwell. These guys are all right, nothing crazy. This is an offense that the Chargers should shut down. Because like we mentioned, the defense has been a very defining characteristic for this team the past couple of weeks. If you can't shut down the Rams, maybe I'm a bit worried about the weeks to come in the postseason. So you guys got to take care of business this week, okay? Next segment. 20 acres of real estate. We butchered it. Still, 20 acres. I feel like we should even say 3 acres, right? That would have been a little bit more appropriate. The Rams running back, who's been pretty inconsistent, I would say. Maybe a bit, we'll say underwhelming this season is the right word. Kind of found new life last week versus the Denver Broncos. If I were a betting man, I don't think I would have bet this stride to be hit versus Denver in particular. Because as Chargers fans, we all understand. It's much fun. We poke at the Denver Broncos. They've been known for a pretty solid defense for very many years now. And I would say this year's not too different, right? Very good pass defense. The run defense has been very solid. Defense has been solid for this team all around. Now this Akers guy comes in, puts up 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's something worth noting if you're a Chargers fan, because the Bolts were still significantly soft up front, right? Definitely not the best run defense in the league. I still think we're ranked number 32 in the league when it comes to yards per carry, at about 5.5. 5.5. That's certainly not good. I will have to note, however, that the defense, the run defense as a whole, via other statistics, et cetera, they've been doing all right, right? Versus Tennessee and Indianapolis, which those two teams love to run the football. the Chargers have been doing okay. We held Derrick Henry to, 104 yards? You know what? For Derrick Henry, I will definitely take that. And then the Jonathan Taylor-less Indianapolis Colts, of course, they may have been much more dangerous with him. Still, decently trying to get the ball out there with their running backs. Didn't have much success versus the Chargers. So I'll say the Chargers bend but don't break when it comes to the run defense. If I were the Rams, though, Akers, to me at least, would still remain the best option for them to score on the Chargers. So keep an eye on number 3, Cam Akers. Let's get to an exciting segment here, man. You guys know the number. You know the name. Big Bear Joey Bosa was officially back at practice this week. How exciting is that? You know what? As of a couple of minutes before recording this video, it seems that the Chargers and Brandon Staley are planning on rolling him out versus the Rams. Welcome back. What has it been? Since week 3, we've been Bosa-less in this Los Angeles Chargers defense. Just imagine what we can do now with number 97 back on the field, baby. Okay. So a couple of things to note. Don't get too excited yet, Chargers fans, because, again, the Chargers are trying to figure stuff out in these next couple of weeks. No reason to go out there and risk Joey Bosa too much unnecessarily. That being said, I feel like he's going to be put on a snap count, okay? You're going to start easing Joey Bosa in. This is something that I talked about last week. I was like, I think Joey Bosa has a chance to start being eased in before really trying to get into that game shape over the next couple of weeks. It's starting right now. Joey Bosa, in my opinion, is going to get a handful of snaps. We're going to see some awesome things that gets us really excited. Another preview of the Bosa Mac attack, which was so exciting to watch in the first couple of weeks this year. We'll get to see a semblance of that again. But I feel like it's going to make an impact. Tiny handful of snaps for Joey Bosa could make a real impact on this game. Because the Los Angeles Rams, they're not great at protecting their quarterback. I think, Baker Mayfield's been a Ram for something like 3 weeks now. He's already got 9 sacks in those 3 weeks. Be it, I'll say that Denver Broncos didn't get 1 sack on Baker last week. That's something worth noting. But that means 9 sacks over the previous 2 games. That's a lot. And we've seen this Los Angeles Chargers defense begin to step up in terms of pressure and generating sacks, et cetera, et cetera. Having Bosa back and being able to see how that works and fitting back that weapon on defense and finding the new success of the guys around him, I feel it's going to be something important to watch this game. And the impact it could have on this game is also pretty significant. Baker Mayfield got sacked 5 times versus the Packers a couple of weeks ago, and that provided an awesome opportunity to shut him down. I think he was under 120 yards that game, which really says something. So if Joey Bosa in a pocket of snaps can get to the quarterback, let's say once, and it opens up opportunities for Khalil Mack and Morgan Fox and Kyle Van Noy to get a lick in there as well, I feel like it could make a significant impact on the result of this game. So excited to see Joey Bosa back. And again, we're easing him in. Don't expect too many snaps. Maybe next week he gets a nice, respectable number of snaps before getting real ready for the postseason. Nonetheless, it's going to be very exciting. And again, I can't reiterate this enough. The other pass rushers on this defense have been stepping up. And that's going to be something very interesting to watch Brandon Staley figure out. Now that we got Bosa back, how do we keep these other guys involved a little bit more, right? Kyle Van Noy's been killing it. Maybe he sees more reps at middle linebacker like he was at early part of the season. Maybe we see a bit more involvement from Morgan Fox in the interior. You never know. You never know. So the Chargers, super exciting to see Joey Bosa back. The team that put up 7 sacks last week versus the Colts, I would love to see a similar number this week with number 97 back on the field. Next segment here. Band-Aid on a Lombardi bullet wound. Now, this is probably the biggest point I can make in this video, and we've been leading up to it this entire time, okay? What can you do with the time allotted given to you to prepare for the postseason? The biggest thing in my mind, it's going to be fixing this offense, okay? And like we said, this game doesn't carry extreme consequences like it has been the last couple of weeks. If you guys have been a Chargers fans the last couple of weeks, it's been like, we got to win this game to get our chance at the postseason back. We got to win this game to take full advantage of the opportunity in front of us with the other teams winning and losing. I mean, everything's kind of fallen our way. We have to take care of business. Then last week is, we got to win this game when we go to the postseason. That kind of pressure, not really existing in this one. But like we said before, the Chargers need to take full advantage of the time they have in front of them. The number one priority should be fixing this offense, figuring out how to move the ball vertically before going to the playoffs. This could be the difference between a deep playoff push or an in-and-out, one-and-off spurt, okay? We need to find a way to fix this because Chargers fans, myself included, we're tired, right? We're fatigued. This Joe Lombardi offense, the dink and dunk, the underneath stuff, the weird trickeries going on outside of the flea flicker, which was rather awesome last week. It's tiresome. We got to find a way to push the ball out vertically because, again, the offense is going to be as equally as important as the defense when it comes to the postseason time, okay? The defense has been playing like a Super Bowl, caliber defense. We need to keep that up. The offense, however, has been well below average. And in order for something radical to happen, you're going to have to make a radical change. You're going to have to, if you're Brandon Staley, you're going to have to sit Joe Lombardi down and say, listen, let's go over this together. What are we looking at? We need to see more plays designed down the field. We got to find more ways to get Mike Williams open on the outside. We got to find post patterns, et cetera, to get these guys maybe with a bit more speed open a bit deeper. Let's push the secondary back and open up more for ourselves underneath. If you want this underneath game to work, to what you've designed, you've got to give them space to operate. The way to do that is by opening things up. I, for one, really, really hope that we see some positive signs here. And the biggest advantage that you have if you're Joe Lombardi going into this week is that we're already in the playoffs, right? Not as much pressure if we want to test things out that don't work, right? If Joe finds a way to, let's say, roll out Justin Herbert on a boot or something, try to find, consistent success with those sort of play designs. If it doesn't work, we're still going to the postseason. If it does work, we're writing that down. We're using that some point in the postseason or something similar that we know works. And that's going to be something, again, this is a really important time, almost like a preseason game with so much more on the line, right? To really fix things while you have time to fix things. It's time to take risks with less consequences, the positive consequences of which are you're finding success to a way to move the ball vertically once you get into those really big games come January. All right? This is also going to provide a really nice opportunity for Justin Herbert. This segment called a bounce back for Herbert. Because you can almost say the same thing has been said for Justin Herbert as it has been the entire offense. Herbert hasn't had a touchdown over the last 2 weeks. Kind of crazy to think about, right? With all the big games that we've been seeing from him, some of the big plays, the highlight reels, he hasn't put a ball in the end zone over the last 2 weeks. I feel, again, with the time that we have in front of us, super important to get Herbert back into form. The Rams and the Broncos, I would say, again, two less threatening teams. Both still do have really good defenses. And this is a good opportunity to get Justin Herbert back in form. Because in the end, you want to provide confidence to your quarterback that, A, you'll do your very best to design around him and defend or keep him upright as much as possible, keep him safe from the pass rush. Number two, build that confidence that you can complete that pass. You can pass deep and find success. You can do the things that help the Chargers offensively underneath by finding success over top. All of that, I'm hoping it makes sense. Chargers need to find a way to unlock that confidence of Justin Herbert again. I feel like he still has it, but we just got to make sure that it's as strong as possible before getting into those big games. Okay, so good opportunity coming up these next couple of weeks versus the Rams and Broncos, which again, lesser teams, not much on the line, provides good opportunity to get Justin Herbert's head right. Make sure he gets into the end zone. Next segment, establish the run. This is actually a pretty big one because, again, there's some opportunity here. Because the Chargers, they haven't been the best running team this season, like at all. And this is their chance to figure it out. Again, with I would even say, especially with their other running backs like you're seeing in this photo, Isaiah Spiller. Get Joshua Kelly involved as much as possible this week, right? Get Isaiah Spiller involved as much as possible. Because in the end, yes, Eckler was listed as questionable. And again, as being someone that's in their Super Bowl with Austin Eckler this week, I do not want to say limit Austin Eckler. But I feel like it's a good opportunity to figure out how to move the ball on the ground with your other running backs. Get these guys involved, right? Don't risk Austin Eckler too much if you don't have to. It kind of feels like a win-win. Let's see what Kelly and Spiller can accomplish, especially when we're in the red zone. Find a way to move the ball on the ground because, again, the name of the game is really how do we open things up for Justin Herbert in the vertical pass? And the answers to that are going to be trying to spread the defense out a little bit, trying to get them to back off a little bit with the vertical attack, but also establishing the run just a little bit better. And I feel like, again, we got some time to sort that out. Finally, I've been getting a lot of questions about the situation with Derwin James and Rashawn Slater. Now, like you guys saw at the top of the video, Derwin James is not going to be playing this game. And I feel like that's definitely the right move, okay? You want to be careful with Derwin while you have him. in concussion protocol. No reason to roll him out in a game that doesn't have crazy consequences. Also very confident in his backup, Alohi Gilman. That's the right call. Maybe next week you bring him in on a snap count, and the week after that we're ready to go for the postseason. But what about Rashawn Slater? I'm still not hearing much new news on Rashawn Slater other than the timeline still sort of fits. I'm not expecting Slater to be back this week, next week, maybe even the week after that, right? But he could, at some point, if the Chargers remain in the postseason, find his way back onto the field. I'm really hoping that he does come back for week 1 in the Chargers wildcard game. Because that, guys, again, it's going to unlock a huge portion of this offense that honestly will bring us back to the Chargers and Justin Herbert of the 2021-2020 seasons. Very exciting to see. I should say 2021 season. Lots you can do when you have a Rashawn Slater back in the field. So again, no word yet, but we're hoping that he can come back for the Chargers' first playoff game since 2018. Finally, one of the biggest points I want to make in this video, a dominant defense tour. Perhaps the biggest thing I would love to see this week is the continuation of the Chargers' dominant tour on defense. These guys have been absolutely fantastic. Crazy good on defense. And again, this is what we signed up for when we signed Brandon Staley, and it's starting to come to fruition. If they can prove that they can carry this momentum that they found on defense into their last 2 games, they'll have a great head start going into the postseason. A turnover or 2 would be great. That would create, continue an awesome trend that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Keeping the Rams under your thumb would prove to me that this defense, despite the opponent, has things under control. Continue to prove that this defense is for real. They're first in a lot of categories as of a couple of weeks, or as of last week. I want to see that continue. Very exciting week to be a Chargers fan. So with that, let's close this video out with my score prediction. Here we go, Bull fam. Make sure to leave your score predictions in the comment section below as well. I've got the Chargers in this one. Chargers 27, Rams 16. I think that's a pretty fair number, right? The Chargers haven't been crazy on offense. I was going to go with 21, 24, but in the end, I was like, this is the game you're going to start taking a little bit of risks, right? Try to figure things out on offense. Let's go ahead and say they do. Let's get them 27 points on the board. My bottom line in this one, in the end, the Chargers have firmly established themselves as a strong team going into the postseason. They really have, especially on their defense. Their mid-season misfortune of roster health kept them under the radar for quite some time in the NFL. A lot of people writing them off. But their star power is returning in full force. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Joey Bosa, Derwin James, etc., etc. And it's happening at just the perfect time. Staley designed this team to operate with some serious star power. Now that they have returned, we need to see them take care of business. These last few games are extremely important. I know a lot of people may be writing them off. Well, they are. Because as of right now, we have an opportunity to fine-tune this team for the postseason. Not many teams can say that they have that as early as the Chargers do. So let's not squander that opportunity. Fix the issues on offense. Keep the momentum going on defense. Keep providing confidence for your quarterback, Justin Herbert. And the Chargers will be that one team that nobody wants to face in the postseason. Time to get our heads straight, Bowl fam. We're going to the postseason for the first time since 2018. Let's lock it in and take care of business versus the Rams and prove once and for all who are the kings in Los Angeles. The battle for LA is on, boys. Let's get it. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Even 10 snaps of Joey Bosa on Sunday has got me super, super hype, Bowl fam.